Hey everyone, it's great to see you. Today I'm going to be reviewing how to propagate hydrangeas by taking cuttings from the plants you already have. And I showed you how to do this in a recording earlier this week, but this is going to be a little different than my usual videos. This is a more formal presentation with the step-by-step guideline of how to do this and the time frame that it will take you so that you can refer back to this and really make some beautiful hydrangea bushes yourself. So the first thing that you're going to want to remember is that you're taking your cuttings in zone 6B, 7A, usually in the middle of July to middle of August. So we want the hydrangea bushes to have had enough time to grow in nice and strong. You're looking for strong stems, not those that are just getting their strength in the spring, but by now they're going to be green, but nice and firm and strong. And you're going to look for the best cuttings. You don't want to take those that are looking kind of wilty or sad or diseased or damaged, although sometimes I will knock a branch off of one of mine and grab that and use that as a cutting because I don't want to waste it. When you take your cutting, you're going to make sure that you cut off 2 pairs of leaves on the stalk. So you're going to the top of the little branch and you're cutting the first pair of leaves and then the second pair of leaves and right underneath that. You can cut off the bottom pair of leaves and you're just going to leave those leaf nodes there. The leaf nodes are where the leaves attach to the stem. And then you're going to cut the top pair of leaves in half because you just need those leaves to give you the energy and the photosynthesis to keep the plant alive, but we don't want a lot of transpiration going on. And that's where the water in the stem and the plant evaporate through those big leaves. You're going to put a little rooting hormone on the stem of your cutting, and you just want to dab it on where those little leaf nodes are, dab it on the bottom. And some people sort of take their nail and score the stem a bit too, and you can dab the rooting hormone on that. If you're using any brand rooting hormone is fine, but usually there's a number on it, and you want a low number. Numbers 1, 2, or 3 would be fine for that. You're going to take your cutting, you're going to plant it along the edge of a small pot, and you want to use some type of airy planting medium that's slightly damp, not super wet, but slightly damp. So I use potting mix mixed with a little perlite. That would be fine. You could use seed starter, but you don't want something really heavy that's going to retain a lot of water. Then you're going to take those little pots and you're going to move them inside your house in indirect sunlight. So not in direct sunlight, in indirect sunlight. And if you can put some type of humidity dome over it, that is great. Any humidity dome that's see-through, that is plastic, works really well. So you can see in my picture here, I have a container, a storage container that I just turn upside down. This works really well because my cats can't get to them too if I seal it shut this way. And then once in a while, I'm going to lift that humidity dome up and spritz it with water. I'm not really watering the pot again, unless you really think it needs it, but I will spritz it with a little spray. And then after 6 weeks, you can move those little pots. You can take the humidity dome off and move those little pots outside into a shaded area. Just make sure it's a shaded area because even if we think it's only part sun, the actual sunshine outside is very different than having it in indirect sun or your grow lights inside. So we need to let them acclimate a bit to that. And, if you're starting that right now, that means probably in the middle of September, you're moving your little plants outside. And hopefully they look a little bit like what's here in the picture. This is a rooting that I had taken, and you can tell it's not just the half leaves anymore, although the half leaves are the two, the one on the very top and the one on the bottom, but it has sent out some new growth. That is great sign if you see that, because it means that it is doing well, that it has rooted in. So mid-September, after that 6 weeks, your little baby hydrangeas go to live outside, and you're still keeping an eye on them. Not too much water, just enough to keep them going. And you're going to leave them outside for here. It's usually about December 1st until there is a killing frost. And the leaves are going to die. They're going to turn brown, shrivel up. Most of them will fall off. If they haven't all fallen off, you can cut off the last few, and you're going to have a very, very sad looking stick left. And it really does look like your hydrangea has passed on, but it hasn't. It is just hibernating for the winter. So it is absolutely fine to leave it out then. And then December 1st, that is when I'm going to bring it to an unheated area. So your pot with a cutting that now looks like a stick goes into an unheated enclosed area, and it has to be unheated. So I'd move mine into my unheated shed. If you have an unheated garage, that is fine. My basement would probably be too warm for my particular hydrangeas, and our basement stays pretty warm, but maybe you have a very cold basement. You want them to have a period of real coldness in order to get ready for next year. So it is still being protected though by the wind. So it's more protected than you think it would, but it's still getting that cold time. And then once a month, you're going to pop into your shed or wherever you have your hydrangea cuttings. And this is where I also keep those that I bring in that are in a bag that I use for the bag and the pot method. So it could be a bigger hydrangea. I put them in my unheated shed too, and I check once a month. Now for my big hydrangea that are in 5-gallon grow bags, I give them at the most 1 cup of water a month. What I do is I feel the soil, and if it still feels damp, I don't bother. I think last winter, there was 1 month where I added a cup of water to each of them. That was it. It didn't need it the other months. Now, the cuttings, our rootings, are now in small containers, so they might dry out a little faster, but you just want them slightly damp because they could rot out if they get too damp. And then it seems like you have to wait forever. When it comes times here, the cutoff point that I have is May 1st. Now, maybe you're going to acclimate them a little sooner than that by moving them out for an hour or two in the day and then moving them back to your shed in the night. But you are also safe just to wait until May 1st. Believe it or not, even if your shed is completely dark, your hydrangeas will start to leaf out in that. They just know. And you are absolutely fine to leave them there till May 1st. They will do great. You're going to move them outside. And at that time, you're either leaving them in the same pot if they're still really tiny, or you could put them in a slightly larger pot. You're going to tend to them carefully, and you're probably going to get a few blossoms. So in this picture, this is the rooting that you saw in the little pot earlier in this presentation. So this is year 2 here, and it got about 3 flowers, 3 mop head flowers the second year that I brought it out, but it looks much bigger, much better. And this pot overwintered in the shed. And then you'll enjoy it in the pot that whole season. And once again, you're going to take it in to an unheated area from about December 1st to May 1st the next year. So you can see this is quite a long timeline. You're going to take the cutting that first year, you're going to overwinter it in the shed, then you're going to enjoy it that second year. It's a little bigger, it gives you a few flowers, then you're going to put it back in the unheated shed, and then you're going to move it out for the second full season. And by that time, it should have a root base that's about the size of a gallon container. And you can make the decision then whether you want to leave it in a planter or put it in the ground. So I tend to leave it in a planter for at least one more year. But you probably, if you really have root growth of about a size of a gallon container, you probably are okay to put that in the ground. But you know I love keeping things in my grow bags and in planters, so another year for me is not a big deal. From that point on, your hydrangeas should be good to go. You are going to treat it just like one that you got at a nursery, whether you're putting it in the ground or keeping it in a planter. I highly recommend that whether you are trying cuttings or whether you're going to try keeping a hydrangea just in a grow bag or in a pot, that you do overwinter some of your hydrangeas in an unheated enclosed area, because it just guarantees that you are going to have some beautiful flowers. I hope this was helpful to you and that you can refer back to this in the future. Good luck as you take your hydrangea cuttings. Go and get outside, get some of those little baby hydrangeas and get them started. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.